try to cover, actually, in this lecture, almost over 200 years of jewelry. You have a manual on the brochure that they gave you from the very beginning. And I will not stay on the dates, but rather stay on the periods artistically and how they are in the design and the influences they push to be what this particular jewelry are. So when you see a piece of jewelry that is antique, you have to think that it's a piece of history. You have a piece of history in you. It's not only just a piece of jewelry of diamonds and other precious stones, but a piece of history. Now, by saying that, we're starting with the Georgian period. As the word says, is from the 1714 to 1830-37, and there are three kings called Georgian, and the last one William, but it's called Georgian. You might probably not see so much of this jewelry around. There are in the market, you will find it. There are fine examples, there are also cheap examples, but you will not find so much. So, that's kind of how they look like when they were at this stage, the woman. And this is a typical example of a ring. What is the difference between nowadays and those days was mostly the jewelry from this period, they were faceted in silver. They're closed back, there are no holes in the back. So you see, it's more bulky. Going on, an extremely fine example. Bulky, and the back is also silver, but it has enamel. All these yellow lines that you see in the flower, it's enamel. It's in extremely good quality. Rose-cut diamonds, which are, for some of the people, are very favorite, these rose-cut diamonds. Then, we're going to another one. Also enamel. And another fine example. The emeralds are Colombian, all of them. They're foiled back, although they shouldn't be, actually. We just examine it because we have to take it out and see how they are. I mean, if they are foiled back, if there are some flashes on the back, and if they are Colombian, and if they are old or not. So that was the most important thing we wanted to see from these emeralds. The diamonds are not closed back, finally. So we're going more to the Victorian era, 1837 to 1909, and we'll call it like this because it's because of the Queen Victoria, obviously. Fine example, a brooch from the Empress Eugenie, France. Very distinguished piece by Pabst. I will not go in more details of these pieces because we will have to stay like the whole day. So I will keep it very short. If you have questions, you can ask me on the back, of course. This particular piece is a combination of the, I would say, most fine example that you can see in this period. French, of course. The diamonds are all European, all mine cuts, and all open on the back. Very unusual for the time, even if it's early 19th century. Now, what are the most important things that happened in the 19th century? In the first place, in 1813, we have the excavation around Rome and the discoveries of tomb in Herculeana. That made most of the jewelers to take inspiration from them and then produce jewelry in this manner. Later, you have more excavations like in Egypt, around 1850, 1860, and this example is from Castellani, one of the most important jewelers of this time. Castellani was supposed to find, they said that they found the Etruscan technique of granulation, a technique that is extremely fine, and they are not using gold to solder the gold elements. Many theories exist. There are, for example, espresso glue, also copper, etc., etc. So he was the one that found the, let's say, the big mistake from this jewelry. Typical example of this period, they are micromosaic jewelry. Usually micromosaic is not stone, they're not stone, they're glass. But a very fine quality. The back would be glass or lapis, maybe a stone. And this one is around 1860s. Typical influence from Egyptian revival. The Egyptian discoverers influenced this piece of jewelry. The middle stone is a carnelian. Could be an ancient stone or could be a reproduction for those days, not our days. It's very hard to do the examination like this because you have to take the piece, unmantle it. That means that most probably you might break the enamel and then you destroy the piece. So it's really hard when we find a piece like this to make examination to find out, okay, is it a real one, is it an antique one, or we should stay like this and say, okay, this from this period, this from this period, and we accept it like this. So, and we keep it 99% as it is. Later on, you have the funds in Africa, around 1870. So plenty of diamonds came on the market, they were started using it, and the fantasy of designers and the jewelers exploited. The diamonds that were using it in those days, not only for the night, but also daytime. This is the beginning that you have also goldsmiths are having combining old techniques with new techniques. They are using usually silver and gold together. Gold on the back, silver on the top. Silver why? Any idea? Any idea? I'm starting with questions. Okay. Silver on the top because you have to bring the whiteness of the diamond. And why gold on the back? Because silver is tarnishing. It will make the body will go dark, even the clothes. So they don't use it so much on the back as before, as the century before. If you find a piece of jewelry like this, it's most probably from this era, not before, not later. What it means from this era, we're covering like maybe 80 years. Why we know when we say, okay, is it from the end of the 19th century or from the beginning of the 19th century? Then you have to base your research in the cutting of the stones and also how it was manufactured, to basic things. Now, I kept this at the end from the Victoria era because there were some other events that happened that influenced all the jewelers and also designers. We had two exhibitions. The middle of the London exhibition, the World Exhibition in around 1850s, and also the same thing in Paris. Now, by this, you have people exhibiting from Asia. And those elements, they were not coming as jewelry, they were coming as objects, as vases, clothes, and they were taking these motifs to use it in jewelry. This is a sun, a rising sun, most probably in Asian inspiration, East Asian inspiration. And this dated 1900 around. The difference is, I will explain it later because we're coming in another era, it's not silver and gold, it's silver and platinum. And it is distinctive because the layers that they were using, they were much thinner at this stage, and around 1900s. Art Nouveau period. Short-lived, extremely important. You have only particular manufacturers, I would say, and designers, and artists. It is the first time that we start, that the artists start being let's say, as the celebrities of our times. You will see why. In the picture is Sarah Bernard, and also the famous snake ring and bracelet. The design was from Alphonse Muha, and it was made by Fouquet. Even those days were very famous. It's not only our days. If you want to put a price on this piece of jewelry, it would be maybe, if it comes to auction, more than 1 million. And has no big diamonds, no important stones, no important gems, nothing that can make this value to be there. It's just the design, it's just because it is how it is. You have to think of it as a painting. Why you pay for 100 million for a painting? You don't pay for the paint and for the brush, and you don't pay for the canvas. You pay for the artist. It's exactly the same way you have to think and judge it. Another very important artist is Lalique. The pieces from Lalique, distinctive to this era, are feminine figures, flies, animals that are you don't see normally in a century before as jewelry. You will see butterflies, but you will not see bees, for example. Insects, you will see dragonflies, but studied with gems. In Art Deco, you will see dragonflies, just studied with just a little bit of the gems and enamel. Enamel also, also an Asian influence after the exhibition, the World Exhibition, in the mid-19th century. From Georges Fouquet, the ring. Nothing important on the ring, no stones in it. Again, it's like a painting. Just a female figure, because the female figure in the Art Nouveau was the motif they were using. It was the must. And this is the dragonfly. This particular is from Lalique, and I don't want to put a price on it, but could be, I think it was sold many years ago, around 150,000 maybe. Now it would be 300 to 500,000. Moving on. The last concept that I wanted to show you also how was the woman from this time. Completely different as the first which was shown. More airy, also very, very fine. Edouard and Belle Époque. Now, this era is very much not confused, but you could hear this. If you evaluate a piece of jewelry, you will see from the expert saying that this is Edouardian and this is Belle Époque. It's the same period, but Belle Époque started much earlier, around 1871. What is the difference? Belle Époque is anything that you will say that characteristic of the jewelry. It's gold and platinum, while the Edouardian, which is started in 1901, is completely platinum. Why Edouardian? King Edward and his consort Queen Alexandra, England. This is what you would like to see if you have in hand Edouardian jewelry. Platinum, motifs from the 18th century. Very filigree, flower motifs, and diamonds, I would say, not of high quality. Rose cuts, old European, but not of a high quality. Again, important is on the design and on the lightness of the whole piece. That's an extremely beautiful example. A tiara that can be converted also as a necklace, and the middle diamond, I don't know if I can see this one, you can take it out, you can wear it as a pendant. Typical from all these periods, the convertibility of the jewelry. You can have a piece of necklace, you can take it out, so you can wear it as 2 brooches, 1 brooch, earrings, pins on the hair, pendants, anything you can imagine. Nowadays you have a necklace and it is a necklace. Most probably you have a pendant that you can take it out and then use it. But in those days, they were multifunctional. Brooch. The particular brooch is from Blackstar and Frost. It's an extremely fine example, and that's the front. I will strip it out. That's the front, and that's the back. And if you compare it, and if you have it in your hand, you can hardly see what is the back side, what is the front side. The only thing you can see what it is the diamonds. It is exactly so beautiful and clean made as the front. Saying this, I have most of the time people or students ask me, are all the jewelry like this of this period or before? No, I'm showing you fine examples, and let's say 80% of the jewelry that you will see from this period, they are of a high quality. Think of it that they are all handmade. So Art Deco. Art Deco period is, let's say, everything that you will see in 100 years, put it in one period. Why? You have color, you have monochromatic jewelry, you have precious stones, you have non-heated stones, you have synthetic stones, you have cultured pearls, the use of almost everything. If you want to judge this kind of jewelry, you have to be extremely careful. People are asking, why should I buy this piece of bracelet when it is a synthetic sapphire? But those days, they were not judging it like this. They will go to the jeweler and will say, I would like to have this bracelet, but with synthetic diamonds, because this is something new. It's a new innovation, so it's not a negative part. Nowadays, you will say, oh, it's a synthetic. I don't want to have it in a bracelet that costs 100,000. Those days was completely different. So the silver is changing. You will see how the styles wearing jewelry are. Art Deco or Belle Epoque? That's the question. You could say both. It's platinum, it's in gold, and it's a transition. I would put it as a Eduardian or Belle Epoque because it's platinum, because it's white, but it has color, so it's not monochromatic. So you would tend to say Belle Epoque to Art Deco. The particular piece has a no oil Colombia Muso emerald. So you probably consider that most of the stones from this period, from the 200 periods that we're covering are natural stones, no heated, but not all the time. And I will answer now the question you asked, Antoinette. Yesterday you asked, are there doing research in an old piece of jewelry to see if the stones are changed or they are from another region? Well, if you have a piece of jewelry come in your hand, the first thing you do is judge the stones, see the stones, examine the stones. And up to now, the stones that we're getting in the jewelry are most probably the country of origin that they were in the first place examined. I have seen important pieces coming from royal collections that the rubies are heated, but never from another region. They're Burma or Sri Lanka. They will not be Tajikistan, for example. I think with that I can answer your question yesterday. Now, we move on. We have a lot of to cover. This could be, most probably, a synthetic sapphire brooch, but it's not. This is a fine example, again, American. Art Deco, typical Art Deco piece, platinum, and with sapphires, calibrated sapphires. Inspiration from Asia, jade. This particular is from Buscon. Now, inspiration when in Art Deco period. Inspiration, we have several inspirations. First, the Ballet Russe, which was around 1910. Then you have the Paris exhibition in 1925, the excavation in the funds from Tutankhamun tombs in 1922 from Edward Carter, and you have influence from China, influence from Persia, influence from Ottoman Empire, so you have all the influences in the jewelry. In this particular, you have jade for, jade for Asia, and these little things are not Asian inspiration. Just, I would say, more of an 18th century painting or sculpture or furniture. A typical Chinese inspiration. That's from Cartier, price-wise 380,000. Coral, enamel, onyx, and diamonds. Again, the importance of the diamonds is not there, it's just the piece. Again, one typical piece from Art Deco is the monochromatic. We're going from the 1920s in the 1930s. In the 1930s, jewelry became bulkier, monochromatic. They were using more diamonds than color. And now, some terms that I hope they can help you understand when we're talking about antique jewelry, vintage jewelry, stage jewelry. What is antique jewelry? Anybody knows what is antique jewelry? What do you say antique jewelry when you see a piece of jewelry?
100 plus years.
Okay, great, perfect. This is it. 100 plus years is antique jewelry. What you see in the trade or in the exhibitions, in the shows, you will see jewelry from this period, like 200 years, 100 years, and more contemporary. So these are antique jewelry you might consider seeing in the trade. Not the antiquity, not the 1,000 years. Okay. An example, very fine example. All the emeralds are Colombian. Some of them were oiled, some not, but all Colombian, finest quality, beautiful necklace. And this is an original antique. And second half of the 19th century. Vintage jewelry. Any idea?
1950s.
Okay. All right. Anything that is not antique, it's vintage. That means that from, let's say, nowadays, 1920s until the 1970s. No contemporary, no modern. This you consider vintage. Thank you very much. You got it. So this one is from the 70s. You could say this is vintage. Very distinctive, it's from Cartier. It's made out of a rosary. Matte symbols here, like the minaret. And from an Arabesque collection. Estate jewelry. I think that's the easiest. Okay, estate jewelry is everything that is belonged before to somebody else and now moving to the next generation, or you buy it and then changing hands, changing the owner. Very good example is this one. That's socialite Barbara Hatton. She's wearing a bracelet from Van Cleef & Arpels, made I think in 1960s. All the diamonds are Gokoda diamonds, and I had the chance to have one of these, which is one of these little guys. I will not mention any price on this. So to come from this and to find out if it is the real one or not, it's not only I see it in a paper, I think it's a similar one, and I make the conclusion that, hey, I have one piece of Barbara Hatton. No, you have to search, you have to ask, you have to please people to tell you the origin, where do they have it, why they have it, and where it comes from, etc., etc. Then the examination, and also you have to probably go to the jeweler and say, okay, were the diamonds all recorded or no? What are the weight of the diamonds? And then you can find out that this is the original one. Period jewelry. Period jewelry, any idea what it is? I will show you this. Period jewelry is almost everything that belongs to a certain period. This is the easiest, let's say, chapter. This one is a fantastic piece of Art Nouveau jewelry, again Lalique. It was traded, I think, 20 years ago, 18,000. Now you can have it for around $250,000, if you are lucky. Why antiques? Okay, the tiara this tiara is the same like this, and it became this, it became this, it became this, and this. To find out, without recutting, I would say, that this particular piece is the original one, you have to have first examination of the stones, and then to have a good research and to trace the jewelry as much as possible. Very hard to do, because sometimes people doesn't want to tell you whether they have it, but it's possible. You have to maintain your risks. How do you know if it's an original? Now, you do know this necklace, I suppose, the lovers of Elizabeth Taylor, and if not, this particular pearl is a Le Peregrino pearl. It was sold by Christie's 13 million, and is the second most expensive pearl ever sold in history. That's an easy task. That was a really easy task, because you know the origin, you know the owner, it's very obvious, it's a one pearl, but if it was a diamond, it would be much more difficult. Go to the next one. Maharaja for Baroda. There are 7 strands that he is wearing. Now, 2 strands were appearing on the auction, and it was very hard to track if those pearls are the original Baroda pearls or not. After, I think, 1.5 years of research, they really got it that they were the original pearls, but they were from different strands, sold for around 3 million, only 2 strands. Prices. We talk about prices. I wanted to give you an idea about the prices. And again, Barbara Hampton, an exceptional necklace from Jade. How many of you has an idea how much that would cost? A million?
Millions.
10 million?
Bottom left, 2 million.
22. That's how big it is.
About 30. About 30 million. It's the second nice. Two necklaces exist like this. I saw both of them. The quality of the stones, I would say gems, not stones, because this is ridiculous to say, but not for these prices, for what it is, to say it as a stone. It was exceptional. You had the feeling you have emeralds, round emeralds in your hand. Exceptional. So, and I'm coming to this. On the left, you have a new production of a Tutti Frutti Cartier style brooch. And on the right, or left to you is the bracelet, to the right is the brooch. On the left is an original Cartier bracelet, around 2 million, and on the right to you, it's a brooch. The brooch has nice stones. They are natural, no heated, no oiled, even the emerald. It's a Burmese ruby, Burmese sapphire, and an emerald from Colombia. And guess what? On the left to you, the bracelet, the stones are included. They are not so nice. They are sometimes with cracks. But it's a historical piece. So you have a price, any idea? Just a figure. Any of you on the bracelet? How much it will go?
Medium.
Yeah, about 1.5 million and over, maybe over. And the brooch, because it's new, there's no history, it's nothing important, it's around 25,000. That's it. 21st century. I would like to, by this presentation, I wanted you to understand why it is so valuable, antique jewelry, why antique jewelry are so valuable, and also why we see it in a completely different angle than you see a new necklace with all Burmese no-hit, for example, rubies. You don't judge only the stones, you judge the material, you judge the history, you judge the provenance, you judge how rare it is, and the craftsmanship, which is unique. You see how much she's wearing. Now, let's go to our age. Here is one wearing a necklace that can be worn as a child, 19th century. Very simple earrings from the 18th century, again. And this is an extremely fine example of Cartier 1900 Edwardian with little emeralds in platinum. This Lily Safra wearing it, and another piece from her, 19th century. All the emeralds are Colombian. All the emeralds extremely nice and fine. Thank you very much. And I will